What? And we shoot on the rifle. Range!
213, sir.
Sharpshooter.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
The recruit does not know it, sir.
You do know a f***ing Papa Gritty comes out the attention on f***ing deck, don't you?
Yes, sir.
F***ing say it!
Attention on deck. Good morning, sir.
Allegations of hazing in the Marine Corps. More than a dozen drill instructors now under investigation after a 20-year-old recruit died at the Parris Island training camp 3 months ago. ABC's Steve Osunsami has the latest. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning to you, George. The Muslim family of that 20-year-old at the center of this investigation was told he committed suicide, but the family believes there's much more to the story, that he was harassed.
The Marine Corps has a reputation for being relentless, with training that's designed to break you down completely before building you back up into a tough, battle-ready warrior. But behind all that discipline is a much darker side. Recruits are pushed to their absolute limits, training in extreme conditions, from scorching deserts to freezing forests, while wearing heavy gear that makes everything even harder. The risks of heat exhaustion, dehydration, and hypothermia are just part of the experience, and if you mess up, no matter how small the mistake, you better believe there's a price to pay. Punishments go way beyond tough workouts. Recruits are often pushed through brutal exercise sessions, and in some cases, it crosses the line into outright violence. Injuries aren't uncommon, and sadly, some recruits have even lost their lives because of this intense environment. This is the harsh reality of the Marine Corps' violent punishments, something most people don't see or talk about.
Therefore, teamwork is an essential part of your training here at Parris Island. From now on, you will train as a team. You will eat, live, sleep, and train as a team. The word "I" is no longer part of your vocabulary. Do we understand? Yes, sir!
Before recruits even step foot on Parris Island, they've already jumped through a ton of hoops just to qualify. Aspiring Marines have to meet some pretty strict requirements. They need to be between 17 and 28 years old, though there are exceptions for certain cases, have a high school diploma or equivalent, and pass a thorough background check. On top of that, they must be U.S. citizens or permanent residents to even get their foot in the door. Once they meet these basic requirements, recruits take the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, ASVAB, to see if they're a good fit for the Corps. Physical fitness is a huge factor. Candidates must pass tests that check their strength, endurance, and overall health. Marine Boot Camp is the ultimate test of endurance, grit, and determination. This intense 13-week program, held at Parris Island, South Carolina, or San Diego, California, combines brutal physical training, weapons handling, combat simulations, and lessons on Marine Corps history, values, and leadership. Physical training is a cornerstone of the Marine experience, designed to push recruits to their physical and mental limits. While this intensity prepares them for the demands of combat, it has also drawn criticism when it veers into unsafe territory or hazing. Drill instructors are notorious for their relentless approach, subjecting recruits to hours of push-ups, burpees, and other grueling exercises. Recruits often run in formation, sprint through sand pits, and carry heavy logs as a team. Another challenge is the hump, a long-distance march where recruits carry heavy packs weighing between 50 to 80 pounds. These treks can cover 10 to 20 miles, usually over rough terrain, really testing their endurance and mental toughness. Water survival is also a big part of the training. Recruits must swim long distances in full gear, tread water for extended periods, and leap from high platforms into deep water, often battling the extra weight of their equipment. One of the most intense experiences in boot camp is the gas chamber. It's designed to teach recruits how to use their gas masks correctly and help them build confidence in handling chemical warfare situations. While it's a crucial training exercise, it's tough, and many recruits remember it for years. In the gas chamber, recruits enter a sealed room filled with a non-lethal chemical agent, usually CS gas, tear gas, which irritates the eyes, nose, throat, and lungs. Before they go in, recruits are taught how to put on and seal their gas masks properly. Once in the chamber, recruits perform exercises like jumping jacks to check if their masks are sealed. Then, they're asked to briefly remove or break the seal of their masks, exposing them to the gas. This causes intense discomfort, such as coughing, burning eyes, and difficulty breathing. Afterward, they must reseal their masks or endure the gas for a little longer before exiting. The purpose of the gas chamber is to ensure Marines trust their gas masks and know how to use them in chemical warfare situations. It also simulates the effects of exposure to chemical agents, mentally preparing recruits for combat scenarios. The experience helps develop resilience and the ability to stay calm under pressure. However, the gas chamber isn't without its critics. The exposure to CS gas can cause respiratory issues, nausea, and in rare cases, long-term effects, especially for people with pre-existing conditions. For some recruits, the experience can be traumatic and leave them with anxiety about chemical warfare. Some argue that the stress it puts on recruits might not be necessary to achieve the desired outcomes. The final hurdle is the Crucible, a grueling 54-hour test of endurance, teamwork, and problem solving. Recruits tackle obstacle courses, long marches, in simulated combat with little sleep or food. Completing this challenge earns them the iconic eagle, globe, and anchor emblem, a powerful symbol of their transformation into Marines and their commitment to defending the nation.
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies.
Against all enemies.
But there's another side to the Marines that doesn't get talked about as much. A darker reality filled with toxic culture, hazing, misconduct, and the mental health struggles many service members silently endure.
Allegations of hazing in the Marine Corps. More than a dozen drill instructors now under investigation after a 20-year-old recruit died at the Parris Island training camp 3 months ago.
One of the biggest issues is the ongoing culture of hazing in some Marine units. Even though hazing is banned, it continues to be a problem, especially in the infantry and among junior ranks. Hazing in the Marine Corps often comes across as harsh physical or psychological abuse, disguised as a rite of passage. New Marines, called boots, sometimes face humiliating treatment like endless physical punishment, being forced to stay awake for long hours, or being publicly shamed. For example, junior Marines might be made to shave their heads repeatedly, or pushed through brutal workouts for minor mistakes or seemingly random rules. In more extreme situations, hazing can turn into physical assaults, like being held down and forcibly shaved or pushed to their limits during intense smoke sessions. A smoke session is basically an unofficial punishment where recruits or junior Marines are made to go through exhausting physical exercises like non-stop push-ups, burpees, planks, or running, often with little to no rest. It's not part of formal training, but happens frequently in military culture. The name smoke comes from the idea of wearing someone down so hard they feel completely burned out. Drill instructors or senior Marines typically lead these sessions, claiming they're meant to correct mistakes, enforce discipline, or toughen people up. But they can quickly cross the line into hazing. Prolonged or overly intense sessions can lead to serious problems like extreme exhaustion, dehydration, injuries, and, in severe cases, heat stroke or other health issues. Some people see smoke sessions as a way to toughen Marines up and teach discipline, but they've also faced a lot of backlash for being unsafe and abusive. These sessions can leave Marines completely drained, both physically and mentally, with little thought given to their overall well-being. In the long run, this can do more harm than good. Toxic leadership plays a big role in letting hazing thrive. In some cases, leaders ignore or even encourage abusive behavior, creating an environment where hazing feels normal. Marines often feel like they have no choice but to go along with it, either to fit in or avoid becoming the next target. When Marines do try to speak up, their complaints sometimes get brushed aside or even sent back to the very leaders responsible for the abuse. This betrayal makes things worse, leading to more mistreatment, social isolation, and even negative career consequences, like poor evaluations or being stuck with undesirable tasks. The fear of retaliation or being labeled a troublemaker stops many Marines from saying anything at all. Also, some toxic leaders don't address hazing because they either don't care or they're afraid of exposing their own flaws. This sends a clear message that hazing isn't taken seriously. In some cases, leaders even participate in the abuse themselves, using their power to intimidate and shield themselves from any fallout. Racism is a huge factor that makes hazing even worse, especially for minorities in predominantly white units. It can show up as racial slurs, offensive comments, or outright discrimination, creating a toxic environment. Black and Latino Marines, for example, often face harassment and abuse that's tied to racial prejudice. They might be called slurs, bullied, or even physically assaulted because of their race, which not only makes them feel unwelcome, but also traps them in a tough cycle that's hard to escape. Leadership can also play a role in enabling this kind of hazing. In some cases, senior leaders either turn a blind eye to racially motivated abuse, or, worse, quietly condone it because they either don't understand how damaging it is or share the same biases. The mental and emotional toll on victims is devastating, and speaking up often comes with its own risks. Those who try to report the abuse are sometimes shunned, labeled as weak, or even face tragic outcomes, like the heartbreaking case of Marine recruit Raheel Siddiqui. Siddiqui, a 20-year-old Muslim American from Michigan, died in 2016 after falling nearly 40 feet from a stairwell at Parris Island, South Carolina. While his death was initially ruled a SIC, investigations later revealed a toxic culture of hazing and harassment that likely contributed to his death. During training, Siddiqui faced constant verbal abuse and harsh physical punishments. Reports showed that his drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Joseph Felix, targeted him because of his religion, calling him a terrorist and forcing him to endure excessive and unfair punishments. On the day he died, Siddiqui collapsed during training, complaining of throat pain. Felix allegedly slapped him and made him run laps despite his condition. Shortly afterward, Siddiqui fell to his death.
Raheel Siddiqui was a high school valedictorian with dreams of one day joining the FBI. But just 11 days into Marine boot camp at Parris Island, the Marines say the 20-year-old committed suicide.
Oh my.
His mother and sister don't believe for a second that he killed himself.
I not believe. This is why I not believe. My son never doing suicide. No. Something happened over there.
The Marines say he jumped 40 feet to his death during training in March. But this morning, his family believes he was hazed. They're asking the military to save all surveillance videos, reports, and audio recordings involving their son.
I just think that it was hazing that was gone too far. I don't think everything we know today is the truth. I think some of them are lies.
Because of this investigation, we're now learning that the Marine Corps has been looking into allegations of hazing, physical abuse, assault, and failure of supervision against 15 drill instructors at Parris Island since November. In Siddiqui's case, they say a drill instructor was improperly placed in charge of recruits while he was subject to an ongoing investigation.
The incident led to an extensive investigation that uncovered widespread hazing at Parris Island, with Felix at the center of multiple allegations involving other recruits.
This particular drill instructor had been investigated prior to this for another instance of abuse. Another Muslim recruit a year before, where he had apparently called this young man a terrorist, also had put him into a large commercial dryer, had run that dryer and burned the young recruit.
A clothes dryer.
A clothes dryer, huge, one of these large industrial dryers. And so the family's argument, and the Marines say, why was this man reassigned into this case? And so this investigation has just continued to unfold from there.
In 2017, Felix was convicted of hazing, maltreatment, and other charges, receiving a 10-year prison sentence. Siddiqui's death sparked national outrage and highlighted the toxic environment within parts of the Marine Corps. His case also shined a light on another serious issue in the Marine Corps: the growing mental health struggles among service members, which have led to alarmingly high victim rates. The Marine Corps has been grappling with some of the highest cases of soldiers taking their own lives in the U.S. military. In 2022, the rate hit 34.9 per 100,000 Marines, a sharp increase from 23.9 in 2021, making it the highest across all military branches. There are several reasons behind this crisis: the intense demands of military life, toxic leadership, and the stigma around mental health are all contributing factors. Many Marines face extreme stress and trauma, especially those who've served in combat zones. Constant exposure to violence, the pressures of war, and the expectation to perform under life-threatening conditions can lead to serious mental health challenges like PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Without proper support, these struggles can escalate, increasing the risk of self-harm. The culture within the Marine Corps doesn't help either. Marines are expected to embody toughness, independence, and resilience, which discourages many from seeking help for emotional or psychological issues. Asking for support is often seen as a sign of weakness, so many Marines keep their struggles to themselves, afraid of being judged or seen as unfit for duty. On top of that, the lifestyle itself is incredibly challenging. Grueling training schedules, long deployments, and extended time away from family can strain personal relationships and take a serious toll on mental health. For many, the limited access to mental health resources and the difficulty of balancing military and personal life only make things harder. Toxic leadership further fuels this problem. When leaders rely on verbal abuse, harsh punishments, or fail to provide a supportive environment, it adds to the stress and isolation many service members already feel. This kind of environment can leave Marines feeling hopeless, making it even harder for them to seek mental health support or recover from their struggles. One example of toxic leadership in the Marine Corps is the case of Lieutenant Colum Kate Germano, who led the 4th Recruit Training Battalion at Parris Island in 2015. Germano pushed hard to close the performance gap between male and female recruits, challenging outdated norms in the process. While some admired her high standards, others criticized her leadership style as harsh and degrading. Reports surfaced about her publicly humiliating recruits and staff, creating what many described as a hostile environment. An investigation found that her overly critical approach hurt morale and trust, leading to her removal from command. But toxic environments in the military go beyond individual leaders. Broader systemic issues, like the way the military handles leave for expectant parents or service members with family responsibilities, also contribute to stress and burnout. Marines have reported having leave requests delayed or denied for operational reasons, which takes a toll on their mental health and morale. The military's culture of sacrifice often forces service members to put their personal needs on the back burner, leading to feelings of isolation and long-term issues like mental health struggles or early departures from service. A 2015 study found that 70% of Army personnel had seriously considered leaving because of toxic leadership. While similar data for the Marine Corps isn't available, it's likely the situation isn't much different. To address these challenges, the Marine Corps has launched initiatives like the Talent Management 2030 Plan, aimed at identifying and eliminating toxic leadership traits. However, toxic leaders still occupy senior roles, showing there's much more work to do in improving leadership evaluations and promotions. If these issues persist, they not only harm the Marines currently serving, but may also discourage future recruits from joining the Corps as a career. But what do you think about the harsh and abusive practices happening in the Marine Corps? How do you think these issues could be fixed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from you. And trust me, if you thought this story was intense, just wait until you see what's coming next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're the first to know when we drop another video.